Hi, I'm Lene Sanford, the Managing Director of the Lutcher Theater for the Performing Arts in Orange, Texas. The Lutcher Theater is a 1,500-seat, state-of-the-art, world-class performing arts center located right here in Southeast Texas. The Lutcher Theater is a program of the Nelda C. and H.J. Lutcher Stark Foundation. They pay for our building maintenance and they pay for our salaries, but Lutcher Theater, Inc. is a separate nonprofit organization, and we are responsible for raising the money for programming through ticket sales, sponsorships, donations, and grants. The Lutcher Theater is a presenter. We present the largest performing arts series between New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas. Typically, we present about 15 shows per year, and most of those shows are national tours of Broadway shows, and those are shows that are usually produced in New York, right off of Broadway, and they take off on a tour across the United States. We present many of the shows that go to larger markets and play in much bigger cities, but they happen right here in this building in Orange, Texas. In addition to presenting Broadway shows, we also get the privilege of presenting award-winning musicians like Willie Nelson and B.B. King, Kristen Chenoweth, Clint Black. We've also had the opportunity to present some award-winning stage and screen stars like William Shatner and Hal Holbrook, who just recently passed away, but we had the opportunity to present Hal about 5 times at the Lutcher. We've also hosted renowned dance companies, and we are excited each year to present a children's series called Lutcher Incredible Kids Events, where we present shows that are page-to-stage experiences for students of all ages. When you step foot into the Lutcher Theater, you are in for a treat because the building is absolutely beautiful. And if it were not for these folks, this building would not sparkle and shine like it does. Our maintenance crew, we could not do without. So we want to give a big shout out to Ernest Mickey, Lloyd Richard, Bertha Powdrill, and Mona Manning. I studied speech and theater and education at Lamar University, and I graduated from Lamar with a bachelor's in speech and theater and a minor in education, and then later I graduated from Lamar again with a master's in theater. Through the years, I have worked in sales and in marketing in various types of companies, and I've also taught school. I taught speech and theater for junior high, for high school, and then for 8th years, I taught at Lamar University in Beaumont in the speech and theater departments. From there, I had the opportunity to come to the Lutcher Theater as the marketing manager, and so I did the marketing of all the shows for about 7 years, and then I had the opportunity to step into this role that I have now as the managing director. My job here is that I get to lead an amazing team, and I am so proud of them and what they do. The things that happen at the Lutcher Theater happen because of the incredible team that I get to work with. And you'll get to meet them in just a little bit. But specifically, what I do here is I get the privilege of selecting the artists and the shows that we bring here to present to you. And so each year I go to conferences and I work with colleagues and with booking agents to select the shows that we want to put on our season each year. A lot of times at the conferences, I get to see some of these artists perform in showcases, and I get to attend Broadway shows in New York so that I can see what might be good for the Lutcher in a couple of years. So I have a really fun job. Another thing that I do is I create a lot of budgets, and I negotiate and secure contracts with the performing artists and the companies, and sort of just oversee all the administrative tasks and things that have to do with all of that here at the Lutcher. I love my job. I think that when I studied theater a long time ago, I thought that maybe one day I would be an actor or I would direct shows, but I have ended up in another side of theater that I didn't even know existed back then, and that's in administration, theater management, and I love it. I love the incredible staff that I get to work with. I love that I get to do what I love in my hometown, and I love that I get to bring incredible events to the residents of Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Lozano, and I am the Administrative and Box Office Assistant here at the Lutcher Theater. I have a lot of different responsibilities here, but my most important one is the administrative part of it. So I am Lene's right-hand woman. Anything that she needs done, I get it done for her. I also help keep the office running smoothly. This also includes purchasing supplies for the office and for the break room. I schedule different meetings, and I work with the board of directors here, taking board minutes and sending out emails to them. I also have a big role in paying the bills here at the Lutcher Theater. For my box office responsibilities, these include answering the phones and selling tickets on a daily basis. For the show nights, though, I actually work inside the box office, giving away the will call tickets, selling any last minute tickets that need to be done, and if anyone has any problems, they usually come to the box office, so I'll handle all of that. I also run the concessions. This includes going and buying all the food and drinks for this, and doing the deposits once the shows are actually done. A key part is making sure everything is restocked, looking pretty and nice and neat for all of our patrons that come to the shows. I also help the marketing department with their Instagram as well. My journey here at the Lutcher Theater all began whenever I was a full-time college student studying speech pathology, and I accepted a part-time position here as the box office assistant. Different doors opened along the way, and I decided to change my major to business. And I worked very, very hard here, and I accepted a full-time position in April of 2019, and all of that hard work had finally paid off.
Welcome to the Lutcher Theater box office. I'm Wendy Elliott, and I am the box office manager and house manager here at the Lutcher. In my role as box office manager, I handle all things ticketing. That is everything from taking care of our season ticket holders, day-to-day sales, sending sales numbers to our accounting department, and handling any other problems that may pop up regarding box office and taking care of our patrons. We handle everything in-house, so our patrons can always pick up the phone and talk to a human being to take care of any of their ticketing needs. As the house manager, I focus on patron services here at the Lutcher, and that means I get to work with our very, very, very valuable volunteers who help us make magic happen here at the Lutcher Theater. I coordinate the assignments of all the volunteers so that every patron that comes through the doors here has a world-class experience as they come to our shows. I've worked here at the Lutcher for 7 years. I got to know the staff here through my 12 years of employment at Lamar State College in Orange. Lamar Orange and Lutcher have collaborated on many things through the years, from various distinguished lecture series, events that we worked with them on, and then also many graduations. So I became familiar with how special the Lutcher is and got to know everyone. There's no real roadmap that led me to where I am in the workforce today. I've never thought when I grow up I want to be a student activities director at a college or a box office manager. I started my education part-time while working full-time and raising a family here in Orange studying sociology. Then I went on to get my bachelor's degree at Lamar University in Beaumont. It was 2 classes a semester, so it was a long road, and I finished at the age of 35. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and I have learned that hard work and perseverance can take you to places that you didn't even know existed. I hope you all get the opportunity to come see us here at the Lutcher. We look forward to sharing with you the magic that takes place right here in Orange, Texas.
Hi, I'm Chris McLeod. I'm the operations manager here at the Lutcher Theater. I started out working here part-time and helping out in the box office with ticket sales and working on show nights. I had never had the opportunity to see live performances when I was growing up, and I was immediately in awe of the theater whenever I came in. I knew that I wanted to further advance my career here at the Lutcher, and our prior managing director, Jim Clark, offered me that opportunity, and I took it and ran with it, making the operations manager job what it is today. One of my main responsibilities is hospitality for all of our performing artists, cast, and crew members. I love my job, and I've been here for over 30 years and have got to meet a lot of people from all over the world that have performed here at the theater. I get asked a lot who my favorite performer is that I've got the privilege of taking care of, and hands down, B.B. King is at the top of my list. Once Lene has signed contracts, I make sure that each item in these contracts are taken care of with these performers. Some of the performers ask for a lot of different items in their contracts or riders, and some of them are pretty easy. It's my job to make sure that everything is taken care of when they arrive. I also oversee our volunteer hospitality committee at the Lutcher Theater Service Guild. This group consists of about 40 men and women who help make the Lutcher Theater one of the favorite stops on the touring route. Each of the shows that travel through Orange gets a warm welcome and a home-cooked meal before every show. My volunteers cook the meals at home. The Lutcher reimburses their expenses, and they bring it to the theater and serve the companies. They all put their hearts and soul into this because it reflects our sense of pride in this community. We may be a small town, but we have put Lutcher Theater on the map nationally and internationally with our hometown hospitality. As well as hospitality, I also take care of logistics for many of these artists, such as booking their hotel rooms, rental cars, flights, taking them to the doctor, or whatever they need while they stay in Orange. I also organize all the Lutcher receptions, parties, meetings, basically any logistical things that happen here at the theater I take care of. Another hat that I wear is I'm also the graphics designer for the theater. I design all of our season brochures, posters, newspaper ads, postcards, Facebook ads, anything that the Lutcher puts out is all designed in-house. I also take care of our lobbies, grounds, and the way things look around the theater prior to each show before the audience comes in. I want to make sure that everything's in its place and everyone has an incredible experience while attending our shows, with maintaining our image, reputation, quality, and safety for everyone.
Hi, my name is Leah Stark, and I'm the marketing manager for the Lutcher. When I got the call to join the staff here, I was honored to be asked to work with one of the most amazing teams in the business. Having been a patron for many years, I've enjoyed the incredible entertainment that the Lutcher brings to Orange. I've been on staff here for about a year and a half, and prior to that, I was a stay-at-home mom with my 2 young girls. I spent my early career in hospitality, business development, and industrial sales. I have a public relations degree from McNeese University and have been involved over the years with local chambers of commerce, various business groups, and civic organizations. Working in the arts industry is very different from anything I've done before. My job starts after our director books our season. I work with the rest of the team to design the season's marketing campaign, thinking of engaging ways to present the Broadway shows, dance performances, musicians, and kids performances to our patrons and the community. I work with local media, TV, radio stations, newspapers, magazines, placing advertisements and setting up interviews with members of our staff and the visiting artists. I work with our sponsors and local nonprofits to find creative ways to involve them with our events. On show day, I document the event by taking photos of our event setup, interactions with the artists, and our patrons. I'm responsible for our social media accounts, representing the Lutcher at community events, and making sure we stay on budget when spending marketing dollars to promote our events. The ultimate goal of marketing is to fill our seats, to sell tickets to the shows we present. But the broader goal of marketing is to share the magic that the Lutcher Theater brings with as many people as possible, making them theater patrons for life.
Hi there, I'm Andy, and I am a marketing representative as well as the video and web coordinator here at the Lutcher Theater. My job includes helping the marketing team come up with creative ideas on how to promote our various shows and events. Sometimes that has included appearing on local news programs and dressing up in fun costumes. I also edit videos such as our commercials you may have seen on TV and our promotional videos on social media. Another responsibility I have is managing and updating our website, lutcher.org, and the messages displayed on our marquee. I earned my bachelor's degree in radio, television, and film at the University of North Texas. What followed was a career in radio and TV broadcasting that lasted over 2 decades. the last 9+ years of which were spent as a news producer at a local TV station. It was while working there that I met Lene when she started appearing on my news programs to promote the Lutcher Theater shows and seasons. It wasn't long before that business contact developed into a friendship. After spending a couple of years working at a local museum as an education and tour coordinator and helping with their event planning and marketing, Lene reached out to me in the fall of 2019 about an opportunity to join the Lutcher Theater staff. I wasn't actively searching for a job because I really enjoyed working there at the museum, but I knew immediately this was an opportunity I could not turn down, or as they say, an offer I couldn't refuse. I have spent many years performing in church productions and skits, and have been on stage myself in over 24 local community theater shows. So I definitely have an appreciation and passion for quality performing arts programs. Every time I had attended a show here over the years, I had always left amazed that Southeast Texas could be home to such an incredible performing arts venue. It is truly an honor to now be a part of the Lutcher team, and it's safe to say that probably would have never happened had Lene and I not formed such a special bond and friendship during my TV producing days. My journey to where I am today is proof that it is crucial to always be professional and kind when communicating and working with business contacts. You never know when one of them may end up being your boss in the future.
Hi, my name is David Boehm. I'm the technical director here at Lutcher Theater. The main job duties and focus of my activities here are to prepare this space and the theater's equipment for each event. This space being backstage, please. We are standing on stage at Lutcher Theater right now. Behind me, you'll see the rigging system. Just want to briefly say it is a manual fly system with pipes overhead, as we call them. They're also referred to as battens in some theater realms. Battens is an old nautical term used on ships because a lot of big cities like New York, long time ago, hundreds of years ago, a lot of the stage workers were also naval people off of ships. So some of the rigging terms have been incorporated from the ships in the naval world. The pipes overhead can hold lights, it can hold curtains, it can hold hard pieces of set, and they are lifted manually. Now, of course, you might ask, how does a human necessarily lift a piece of set that weighs 800 pounds? Well, it's all via counterweights. Counterweights are loaded up on the 6th floor of the building, and the set pieces or curtains or lights or sound equipment is loaded down here. And when you get it in balance, a human can come over there and pull the rope and move that heavy piece of set. It's a manual system as opposed to some new buildings these days are built with an automated system. But this is still very much a good standard, a good safe option, and it's still very current equipment. Now, I don't mean to oversimplify what we do here, but I can divide up our events into three different types of shows, 3 different types of events. The first type of event would be the large Broadway musicals, the very large shows that show up in multiple 18-wheelers. I would refer to those as a self-contained show. They bring all of their own equipment. So you give them a hole in the wall and a flat surface to play on typically, they can do their show. They bring their own curtains, their own lights, their own sound equipment, all their own props, all their own everything. And they show up in the morning, we set up the show throughout the day, do the performance in the evening, typically if there's not a matinee, and then we turn around that night and put it right back on the truck and they're off to the next show. There's a large group of stagehands from Beaumont that come over and help us out. It's an acronym, it's usually pronounced IATSE, but it's International Alliance of Theatrical Stagehands and da-da-da-da-da. But they're a group, they come from Beaumont, they're local 183, that's who comes and helps us set up those shows. Each of them gets divided up into a trade, an electrician, a carpenter, a props person, a wardrobe person. They all have their own duties. Sometimes a large Broadway show will take up to 50 additional people to put together that show and put it on. Those companies also, it's worth noting, travel, of course, with their own technicians. They'll travel with a couple of lighting people, a couple of sound people, obviously wardrobe folk, props folk, usually about between 16 and 18 technical people traveling with each show, and that is on top of the cast. And of course, the cast can vary on the show. The second group of shows that I would like to put together would be our daytime series shows. They travel typically in a Sprinter van or a large passenger van. They will show up with their own props and their own wardrobe, but then it's up to me in Lutcher Theater to take care of the lights and sound and the curtains and a lot of the big items. They just don't have the room to travel there. Those we do during the day. That's fun, a daytime series show. We do usually a 9:30 and 11:30. Typically, we will set those up the night before, get ready to do the show in the morning, and then turn around and load them back out after lunch, after they've done their shows in the morning. Now, of course, the third group is really just a large conglomeration of other events, whether it's a dance recital, whether it's a presenter coming to lecture us about something specific. You know, we've done some civic events. We do some graduations here each year. It's also worth mentioning I have a group of volunteers that at times come and help me get ready for these events. They're officially a part of our service guild that are also our ushers, but there's a handful of them that are generous enough to donate their time on stage and help me prepare for some of these events. Couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you. Backstage, obviously we are off stage left is officially where we are, and I'm walking backwards into our shop area. Lutcher Theater is kind of lucky to have a shop area where things can come off the 18-wheelers or come off the trucks. They can get loaded in the large back door, and this can kind of be a staging area before the equipment is moved onto the stage. Some theaters, when you walk off stage left or off stage right, you go through a door and you're standing in an alleyway. Lutcher Theater is very lucky to have this space. It comes in very useful. We use it for a lot of different purposes. Our loading dock outside the large door is a 3-truck dock, which means 3 18-wheelers can back up at a time. Just to give you guys an idea, I want to say Blue Man Group was a 6-truck show. So Blue Man Group showed up in 6 18-wheelers worth of stuff. Avita some years back, I want to say, was a 7-truck show. When we did How the Grinch Stole Christmas, I believe that showed up in 8 or 9 trucks, but since they were doing a teching process here, it left in 6 trucks. So they kind of condensed it down in terms of what material and what equipment they were going to take on tour with them. Well, one big point to make on that, we only handle touring acts. In other words, we don't produce much in-house. You won't find just rooms and rooms of wardrobe or just old set pieces here. We present touring acts, which means that they are put together elsewhere by professional touring companies, and we host them, we present them here for their time in Orange, Texas, and they move on to the next stop. I'm going to continue to walk backwards. I want to say multitasking isn't typically a male trait, but I'm going to do my best. We're walking through the shop area, and we're going to walk down this large backstage hallway. This is kind of a small break area, a Coke machine refrigerator. This also frequently gets turned into a wigs area after it's been used as a break area. We're going to walk past and ignore my office. Thank you for that. And the first other door we come to is a wardrobe. Yes, obviously repairing and maintaining costumes when you're on the road and when you're touring is very important. But some people forget about, well, we have to wash those costumes. You know, we have to smell nice. We take showers, but we also have to wash the costumes themselves. So we have 3 washers, 3 dryers. Typically, during a big Broadway show, this room is full of 7 or 8 wardrobe persons, either dyeing shoes, repairing costumes, doing what they got to do, and obviously doing laundry. Okay, further down the hallway, we won't have to see all of them. We don't have that much time. But these are the dressing rooms. The first one we come to is one of our chorus dressing rooms. It's chorus number 2. This one seats 13 people. Each dressing room has bathroom amenities. You can take a shower. You can go to the restroom. Folks have lights around their mirrors. They have little cubby holes to store their costumes and other things they may need. Like I said, this one seats 13 people. Our other chorus dressing room on first floor seats 15. We have 2 other dressing rooms on second and third floor, and then there are also 2 star dressing rooms around the corner. We're back on stage at Lutcher Theater, and we're standing on the orchestra pit. We do have a proper orchestra pit, and it does move. We'll go down and we'll see how this goes, and I'll talk about some other exciting things while we're doing this. Okay, the pit is moving. We're going to stop at house level. Typically when we do a music act, which means a music performer on stage, we will put the pit at house level and we will seat it. In other words, there'll be 2 rows of chairs here, and people can sit right up close to the action and see it firsthand. A couple of these big heavy handrails will be pulled out, seats will be put, a temporary wall put up, and we'll put two more rows of chairs here so people can really have an up close and personal, intimate event with the performer. But as we proceed down, we'll go all the way down to the basement level and where the orchestra pit gets used as an orchestra pit. And while we're waiting for the pit to descend, let me touch on that teching process I mentioned earlier. A handful of theater companies have chosen Orange, Texas and Lutcher Theater to tech their shows. which means for about a week and a half, 2-week process, they bring all their equipment, all their performers, they bring everything they need to do a tour before they start touring it. And this is where they do a tech rehearsal. They run through all their light cues, they run through all their sound cues. It's a pretty lengthy process. You might think, oh, Orange, Texas is a small town. We have, how big could the theater be? But a lot of theater companies, the ones that have teched here and the ones that come and visit and tour, they show up and they're kind of blown away by, oh, wow, you guys have a real theater here in Orange, Texas. It is truly a nice, medium-sized, healthy space to tech a show. And that is useful when it comes to going on tour. Because if you tech a show in a very large, expansive theater, and that's not representative of the average size theater in the country, they're going to be cramped their whole tour. Where if you teched in a smaller venue, then you might have to cut things to make it fit in that smaller venue, and then every other theater past that, you might have all this extra room that you could have made the show more. So we're a good place like that. Orange is in good proximity to Houston, where if they need some equipment or something specifically theater related, they can get it from Houston very readily. But yes, now we are in the basement area. Aside from some clutter, the basement area is the full size of the stage. And it's where I would store everything. Over in this corner is where a lot of the auxiliary sound equipment is stored. Over in this corner is where a lot of the riser equipment is stored. Risers being platforms built on stage to do things from an elevated position. These large 2 carts here are where I would store a lot of the soft goods and curtains when I have to take them down. Further down is some lighting equipment. Way down in the corner are the upper sections of the band shell. And then more to the right is the vast majority of the theater's lighting equipment that is not currently hanging over stage. When I talk about a big Broadway show comes in and they bring all of their own equipment, that's the biggest part of my job, is taking down all of the theater's curtains and lights and sound equipment, getting things out of the way for them to hang their own. And the basement here is where everything comes to. And then of course when we do a daytime series show, it's fun to turn it right back around, get the lights hung back up specifically to how that daytime series show needs it and wants it, and get all our curtains back up and get on with the show. I did want to briefly tell you a little bit about myself while we go back up to stage level. I grew up in Orange, Texas. 2 weeks out of high school, I started working here part-time back in the 90s, and then I came back full-time in 2006. I do have a college degree, surprisingly, in sociology, so I did not go to school for theater. Of course, some people would tease me that I probably use that sociology degree more than I would use a theater degree. But really, I always say I love my job. The work is very rewarding, and you get to meet a plethora of folk. You get to meet a lot of different people that come through Orange, Texas. People from Europe, people from Canada, people from all over the world. I would also usually tease that this job is my window to the outside world of Orange, Texas. This job and the internet, of course. I started back here full time in 2006, and so this is, if we do the quick math, I've been here a good little while full time. Now we've moved to the sound booth, and this is a good vantage point of the stage, obviously. The sound booth right now is in a stripped out state, if you will. As you may have been paying attention and heard me say, a large Broadway show will come through with their own sound equipment. So the Lutcher Theater's spaces are kind of always in a state of flux, if you will. Right now, our sound equipment is packed away. But I wanted to give you a vantage point from the sound booth proper. Now, across the way here is the light booth. The sound booth is open to the outside, obviously, so the sound person can hear, obviously, what the audience is hearing. And if he needs to make changes, he can do it as accurately as possible with what it sounds like out there in the hall firsthand. The light booth, on the other hand, is a proper booth. We are behind glass here. The lighting guy doesn't need necessarily to hear every detail of what the sound is doing, or what sound what sounds and noises and voices and all that fun stuff are happening in the hall. He needs to pay attention to lighting. This is Lutcher Theater's light board. If the makers of this board, I would tease that yes, I can see it basically is a Windows ME motherboard with a light board built around it. It's amazing how far technology has come. I wish we had more time to sit here and go through the details of the light board, but we'll move on from here. This is, again, the light booth, please. Okay, well now we're on second floor lobby. I've brought us out here because right now this is where one of the sound consoles that Lutcher Theater owns is stored. Of course, we wouldn't store it in the lobby. We store it in a mechanical room around the corner, but I wanted to get it out so you guys could see. One of the most common things when this mixer is in the sound booth is I'll have a patron, young or old, walk by, and they'll look at me with their eyes real big and they'll say, "How in the world do you know what to do with all those knobs?" And really, I have a very simple, but hopefully a very good answer to that. This is a 56-channel analog mixer. Now, of course, analog is becoming more and more a thing of the past, but still very useful, and there are still plenty of artists out there that prefer to work on an analog mixer. And I'll discuss digital here in just a moment. But this is a 56-channel analog mixer. Number one starting way down there at that end, and each channel steps through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down to channel 56. And my simple answer to someone that asks me, how do I know what to do with all those knobs, is if you learn what this red knob does, and all the knobs beneath it in this one column, that's all you need to know. It's times 56 from there. So if you know that this is your lead vocalist mic, and you know what to change in terms of the equalization, the auxiliaries the boards might be sending it to, and any other inserts that may be plugged into this channel, you can step that through to each other channel and make the adjustments each other channel might need depending on what source it is. Now, I said I'd talk briefly about digital console. A digital console is typically not going to be this massive and this expansive things of knobs and sliders. Most of it's done in the software and in the digital world within the board. A digital sound console is very akin to the lighting board. You can save scenes in it. You can enter the information into the whole show where there's not as much mixing going on live as much as stepping through scenes of a big Broadway show, and the board's doing a lot of it automatically. Again, a digital console is more akin to a computer than it is a piece of sound equipment, but they are very versatile, that they are very condensed, and that they save a lot of travel and expense in moving a lot of heavy sound equipment around when it's all ends up in one big case. Okay, we're back on stage. I was going to throw a few numbers at you guys before we wrap this up. When they built Lutcher Theater, they broke ground in 1976. It opened in 1980. Liberace was the opening act, and in 1980, Liberace was a big deal for him to be in Orange, Texas. Lutcher Theater is a proper proscenium theater. Now, in theater class, if anybody pays attention, you may hear the term thrust or theater in the round. We are a proscenium theater, which means we have a large opening here that the audience sits on this side and is watching a performance on this side. Our proscenium opening is 45 feet wide by 30 feet high. And again, now that is a nice medium-sized space. A lot of theaters are gauged from a technical standpoint on what size is the proscenium. The stage is roughly past the proscenium opening, about 35 feet deep. The upper end of the rigging system, or you could say the ceiling of the stage above all the curtains, is 77 feet up there. And then another cool number, and this is more about our community and where we sit in our community. Lutcher Theater is almost 100 feet tall from the sidewalk up to the capstone on the top of the building. We are officially the tallest building in Orange, Texas. We beat out the hospital by just a few feet, I think is what the blueprints say. Okay, and in conclusion, I want to thank you guys for your time and attention. Again, I'm David Boehm, Technical Director here at Lutcher Theater. And just to rehash, my duties are get the backstage areas and the stage itself ready for each individual event. And that's one of the most rewarding parts of it, is it's always something different. I never know who or what's going to walk through that back door typically, but it is fun and very rewarding to meet people from all over the world and all over our country.